This book is also known as Dou Po. From Utan City to the Great World. After crossing the continent of fighting spirit, Xiao Ning became the villain's little supporting role. He was humiliated by Xiao Yan, but unexpectedly activated the template of Emperor Huangtian. At the beginning, he inherited the supreme quenching technique, Immortal Sutra, and gained one arm's 100,000 pounds of divine power by practicing the first layer. As long as we continue to kill and conquer, we can activate more inheritance of the Wild Emperor. Chao Zi Jian Ju, Zhenlong Bao Shu, Lei Di Bao Shu, Shenhuang Bao Shu. Xiao Ning dressed in white clothes and wielded a sword, killing all the way from Utan City to the vast world, until he became the sole ruler for eternity. Xiao Yan. No matter how hard I try to cultivate, I can only see his back. Xian. Is this guy really a human? Why is my strength even more abnormal than mine? Xiao Yixin. Even if the poison body explodes, I will catch up with your footsteps and never regret it until death. Xiao Ning. The enemy who has been defeated in my hands will never be seen as an opponent by me. I will give you time to catch up until you can't see them from afar. Keywords of the novel. Dou Po. Inheriting the Emperor of the Wild, I am the one who makes decisions for eternity. No pop-ups, Dou Po. Inherit the Emperor of Wilderness, I will rule for eternity. Download the complete set of TXT, Dou Po. Inherit the Emperor of the Wild, I will be the sole judge for eternity. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Rebirth of Xiao Ning, obtaining the inheritance of the Wild Emperor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Rebirth of Xiao Ning, obtaining the inheritance of the Wild Emperor. P.S. Brain storage area. I didn't expect to travel to the world of Dou Po. In the backyard of the Xiao family in Utan City, a handsome young man stood up from his bed with a pale expression. He comes from Blue Star. Due to accidentally ingesting seafood contaminated with nuclear wastewater, he passed away and crossed to Duki continent. His current identity is Xiao Ning, the little supporting role of the Xiao family in the original book. Xiao Yan is really ruthless in his actions. As Xiao Ning got up, a piercing pain hit him, making him unable to resist grinning. After fusing the memories in his mind, Xiao Ning already knew the current timeline. Yesterday was the day when the younger generation of the Xiao family held their coming-of-age ceremony. As in the original plot, during the coming-of-age ceremony, Xiao Ning couldn't bear to see Xiao Yan rise again and make a name for himself, posing a challenge. In the end, even after taking Xingqi powder, he was still defeated by Xiao Yan and suffered serious injuries. It's really embarrassing. Xiao Ning sighed helplessly. In the original work, Xiao Ning is a perfect licking dog. In order to gain the attention of Xiao Suner, he often troubles Xiao Yan. I really licked until the end with nothing. Xiao Ning put out a strange fingerprint in his hand, and immediately felt strands of fighting energy pouring into his body. A hint of joy appeared on her face, and a look of anticipation flashed in Xiao Ning's eyes. As a traveler, I am already full of expectations and fantasies about the extraordinary power in the novel. He also fantasized about being able to travel and become an invincible powerhouse, killing all directions. Unexpectedly, he really crossed over. Feeling the fighting energy flowing within his body, Xiao Ning secretly swore in his heart. In the future, one must cultivate diligently and become a peerless powerhouse. It's not in vain to travel through a scene. What licking dogs, what supporting role. Get out of here, everyone. Ding, detected the awakening of the host's strong heart and successfully activated the inheritance of the Wild Emperor. At this moment, a strange voice suddenly rang out in Xiao Ning's mind. Is this my golden finger? Xiao Ning was taken aback for a moment. In the next moment, his vision became blurred, and a majestic figure suddenly appeared in his mind. This figure is shrouded in countless stars, as if standing on the river of time. He looks into the future, a chaotic scene. Looking back, there is nothing behind me. The Emperor of Wilderness. Watching this figure, Xiao Ning's heart was greatly shaken. He, who has read countless novels, naturally knows that the Emperor of Wilderness is the existence of the ceiling of mystical combat power. And now, how can I actually receive the inheritance of the Wild Emperor? At this moment, Xiao Ning noticed that among the countless stars surrounding the Emperor of the Wild, one of them suddenly emitted a brilliant light. At the next moment, a profound message flooded into Xiao Ning's mind. The Immortal Classic. For a long time, Xiao Ning slowly opened his eyes, as if there were stars running in his pitch-black eyes. Unexpectedly, the first inheritance I received was the Immortal Scripture. An excited expression appeared on Xiao Ning's face, and she couldn't help feeling a little overwhelmed. The Immortal Sutra is the strongest self-cultivation method created by heaven and earth, prepared for humanoid beings as the supreme treasure scripture. It cannot be used in a rational way. This method transcends the limitations of the times, and when practiced, it can make a person's body immortal. It is said that even in death, spiritual consciousness can be regenerated. Do you need to devour the power of the soul to activate the remaining inheritance? While accepting the inheritance, Xiao Ning also learned the method to activate the remaining Wilderness Emperor. That's killing. By killing and devouring the souls of living beings, as long as a certain amount is reached, the next inheritance of the Wilderness Emperor can be activated. It's also good. Xiao Ning's face showed a hint of heroism, crossing a scene. He should have killed everyone in all directions, dominating the world. Awakening to the power of the world, lying drunk on the knees of beauty. However, the top priority is to enhance our strength. Practice the Immortal Classic. As long as you reach the first level, you can reach the ultimate physical realm and achieve one arm's 100,000 pounds of divine power. Subsequently, Xiao Ning's mind flashed with the mysterious content of the Immortal Scriptures. Ignoring his injuries, he sat cross-legged on the bed and began to practice. After a moment, brilliant rune lights flickered around Xiao Ning's body, immediately merging into his flesh. With the integration of these runes, Xiao Ning's injuries quickly recovered at a visible speed to the naked eye. I don't know how long it had been, but Xiao Ning slowly opened her eyes and a flash of brilliance flashed through them. The injuries have all recovered. After examining his own situation, Xiao Ning's eyes flashed with a hint of amazement. Undoubtedly, it is an immortal scripture, just my first attempt at cultivation. It possesses such divine effects. However, if one can take a medicinal bath, the cultivation effect will be more significant. Xiao Ning's eyes flashed with a hint of contemplation. The Immortal Sutra is the ultimate quenching method, and it is extremely difficult to enter. Only by obtaining natural resources and treasures can efficiency be improved. Unfortunately, I am now a poor person. Although Xiao Ning is the biological grandson of the elder of the Xiao family, he also receives a lot of gold coins every month. But before the coming of age ceremony, it was all used by the original body to purchase qi boosting powder. Nowadays, Xiao Ning can be said to be penniless. We must find a way to make money. Just as this thought flashed through Xiao Ning's mind, a light footsteps suddenly came from outside the room. Xiao Ning quickly lay down. With a creaking sound, the door was pushed open and a slender woman walked in with a medicine bowl in her hand. "Brother, it's time to take the medicine." Xiao Ning pretended to be very weak and opened her eyes. "Sister, you're here." The woman who came in was none other than Xiao Ning's sister Xiao Yu. In the original book, Xiao Yu is also just a small supporting role. Subsequently, under the thoughtful care of Xiao Yu, Xiao Ning drank all the medicine in the bowl. "Brother, don't worry, sister will definitely seek revenge for you." Looking at Xiao Ning still looking weak, Xiao Yu gritted her teeth and said. She has loved Xiao Ning, her younger brother, since childhood. Now seeing Xiao Ning being beaten like this by Xiao Yan, Xiao Yu naturally couldn't swallow this bad breath in her heart. "Sister, it's me who is not skilled enough. Don't go to trouble Xiao Yan. Xiao Ning's face showed a resolute expression. The shame of yesterday, I will find this place on my own. Even her own sister, as a man, Xiao Ning does not want to rely on a woman to stand out for herself. Besides, now that the inheritance of the Wild Emperor has been activated, we have obtained the first supreme quenching method of inheriting the Immortal Sutra. Xiao Ning is very confident in her heart, and she will soon be able to defeat Xiao Yan, shedding her former shame. Xiao Yan has medicinal dust, while he has the independent and timeless legacy of the Wild Emperor. He has an absolute advantage. Brother, you. Upon hearing Xiao Ning's words, Xiao Yu was taken aback and looked at him with a puzzled expression, as if he had met him on the first day. It seems that this blow has made you grow. Looking at the firmness on Xiao Ning's face, Xiao Yuqiao couldn't help but show a pleased expression. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Borrowing money. 1,000 pounds of tremendous strength. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Borrowing money. 1,000 pounds of tremendous strength. Next, Xiao Ning continued to lie in bed for 3 days before pretending that her injuries had finally healed. Sister, don't touch me anymore. I'm really good now. In the room, Xiao Ning looked at Xiao Yu, who insisted on checking his injuries, with a somewhat gloomy expression. Are you so seriously injured? Have you really recovered? Xiao Yu looked at Xiao Ning with a skeptical expression, a little skeptical. Really, if you don't believe me, how many moves should we spar? These 3 days, even though he didn't have the money to take a medicinal bath, Xiao Ning still persisted in practicing the Immortal Classic. He felt that his physical strength had improved a lot, and his heart was suddenly eager to try. With just your strength, you can't even defeat Xiao Yan. Do you still want to fight, sister? Xiao Yu rolled her eyes. She is the strength of a 3-star fighter, and Xiao Ning is just a fighter with 8 levels of energy. How can we fight her? Alright, it seems that your injury has really healed, so sister can rest assured. After Xiao Ning's commotion, Xiao Yu had no intention of checking his injuries. Next, you must work hard to cultivate. Recently, Xiao Yan, that bastard, has been in the limelight. As soon as Xiao Yan thought about how he had severely injured his younger brother during his coming-of-age ceremony, Xiao Yu gritted his silver teeth with anger. Xiao Ning was naturally full of confidence in defeating Xiao Yan. With the Immortal Sutra in hand, what does Xiao Yan count as? However, for Xiao Ning, the top priority is to get the money to take a medicinal bath. As Xiao Yu pretended to leave, Xiao Ning quickly spoke up and stopped. Sister, do you have any money on you? Can you lend me some? Xiao Ning asked awkwardly. Your injury is just right, why do you need money? Xiao Ning looked at him with a slightly scrutinizing gaze. Sister, can you not say it? Faced with Xiao Yu's questioning, Xiao Ning gritted her head and said, You lend me the money first, don't worry, I will repay you soon. If you dare to spend money recklessly, I won't beat you to death. Finally, under the entanglement of Xiao Ning, Xiao Yu lent him 10,000 gold coins with some flesh pain and fiercely threatened. Holding the money borrowed from Xiao Yu, Xiao Ning walked out of the room with a happy mood. Walking out of the backyard, I met many young children of the Xiao family on the way. Everyone looked at Xiao Ning with a slightly unusual look in their eyes. Some even whispered about it. In the past, Xiao Ning was also considered a genius among the younger generation of the Xiao family, except for Xiao Suner. But in the coming-of-age ceremony, after taking Xingqi San, he still suffered a disastrous defeat in the hands of Xiao Yan, and Xiao Ning never lived up to the name of genius again. Today, Xiao Yan has regained his glory from 3 years ago and become the strongest genius of the younger generation of the Xiao family. But Xiao Ning became a stepping stone for Xiao Yan to become famous. Faced with the comments and strange looks of others, Xiao Ning remained calm. Defeat means defeat. In the future, winning back will be over. If he can't even bear this setback, how can he become a strong person in the future? However, this will be my only defeat. Thinking of the inheritance of the wild emperor in his mind, Xiao Ning's lips showed a hint of confidence. One day, he will also be like the true emperor of the wild. Dominate the world and be independent for eternity. At this moment, Xiao Ning's footsteps stopped and his gaze turned to a man and a woman walking towards him. The man was wearing an ordinary black shirt, with a delicate appearance, occasionally touching his nose and joking with the girl next to him. The girl, on the other hand, was dressed in a purple dress, exuding a subtle and elegant temperament. The cold and indifferent temperament of a young girl is like the first blooming of a clear lotus. At a young age, she has already developed a refined temperament, which is hard to imagine. If she grows up in the future, how will the girl be truly beautiful? The two of them walked along, talking and laughing, like a young couple in a passionate relationship, truly envious of others. This young man and girl are none other than Xiao Yan, who has recently gained great fame, and Xiao Suner, the first beautiful woman of the Xiao family. Watching the two of them walk towards each other, Xiao Ning's gaze also falls on them. Cousin Xiao Ning. Have you recovered from your injury? At this moment, Xiao Yan finally saw Xiao Ning, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. That day, he acted in anger and didn't expect the other party to get out of bed so quickly. Excuse me, cousin Xiao Yan is concerned. This injury is not a big deal. Listening to Xiao Yan's slightly sarcastic greeting, Xiao Ning didn't feel angry and smiled slightly. After speaking, Xiao Ning glanced at Xiao Suner beside her again, nodded slightly, and then stopped speaking. If it were Xiao Ning from the past, I'm afraid she might have already spoken ill of Xiao Yan and licked Xiao Suner along the way. However, the previous Xiao Ning is gone. As for now, who loves to be this licking dog? Anyway, Xiao Ning will never be a licking dog. Sensing the changes in Xiao Ning compared to the past, a hint of surprise flashed in Xiao Yan's eyes. Even Xiao Suner beside her couldn't help but glance at Xiao Ning with her beautiful eyes. After reluctantly greeting, Xiao Ning crossed over the two and left the Xiao family straight away. It seems that after this lesson, cousin Xiao Ning has become much more stable. After Xiao Ning left, thinking of his abnormal behavior today, Xiao Suner sighed a bit. I hope so, Xiao Yan touched his nose and said indifferently. For him, the current Xiao Ning is already in the past tense. With the help of the teacher, he will inevitably become a strong person in the future. And Xiao Ning, on his way to becoming a strong person, was just a trivial interlude. With 10,000 gold coins, Xiao Ning went directly to Jiafang City and indulged in reckless consumption. Finally, Xiao Ning bought a bunch of quenched medicinal herbs and returned to the Xiao family. Xiao Ning is not an alchemist, so naturally she doesn't know any medicinal bath formulas. However, what he purchased were well-known common medicinal herbs. As long as it can harden the body, anyway, with the dominance of the immortal classic, it can eventually forcibly absorb these medicinal powers. Returning to the room, Xiao Ning borrowed some tools and roughly ground these medicinal herbs into powder. Bring another bucket of hot water and pour in a portion of the ground powder. Quickly, the original clear water became turbid, and a strong medicinal smell permeated the room. Xiao Ning stripped off her clothes and jumped straight into the wooden passage. With a movement of his mind, Xiao Ning turned to the immortal scripture, and immediately a brilliant rune appeared on his body. As these runes flickered, a domineering force emerged, crazily devouring the medicinal power around Xiao Ning's body. A scorching force roamed throughout Xiao Ning's body, with all 4 limbs and 100 bones. Xiao Ning could feel that her physical body seemed to be being transformed by a force, rapidly becoming stronger. I don't know how long it has been, but the runes on Xiao Ning's body slowly disappear, and the water in the barrel has returned to its original clarity. He slowly opened his eyes, then jumped out of the barrel. At least 300 pounds of strength has been added. With both hands clenching their fists and feeling the surging force inside, Xiao Ning's face showed a look of ecstasy. Undoubtedly, it is the immortal classic. With just one medicinal bath, one's physical strength has been greatly enhanced. In the next few days, Xiao Ning stood still and immersed himself in practicing the immortal classic. In a blink of time, a week passed. In the room, Xiao Ning was soaked in medicinal liquid all over, and a powerful force surged through his body, with a magnificent momentum like a rainbow. After a moment, Xiao Ning suddenly opened her eyes, and a terrifying light burst out from them. 1,000 pounds of tremendous strength. This immortal scripture is truly terrifying. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Suppressing Xiao Yan. Yao Lao's shock. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Suppressing Xiao Yan. Yao Lao's shock. Jumping out of the barrel, Xiao Ning clenched her fists tightly. Feeling the terrifying power hidden within his body, Xiao Ning's handsome face was filled with excitement. Now, with his physical strength alone, he is capable of crushing the Dou realm. As for the Dou, Xiao Ning is not yet confident in being able to unleash his fighting spirit. If you're not sure about 1,000 pounds, then 2,000 pounds. Xiao Ning punched fiercely, and the terrifying force suddenly roared in the air. It has to be said that the mystery of the immortal scripture far exceeds Xiao Ning's imagination. He is only just getting started now. There is still a long way to go before completing the first layer of the Immortal Sutra. You should know that after completing the first level of the Immortal Sutra, Xiao Ning will gain 100,000 kilograms of divine power with one arm. 100,000 pounds of divine power, I'm afraid even a strong fighter can kill him with a single punch, right? Xiao Ning's eyes flashed with anticipation. I can't even help but imagine myself in my mind, punching the emperor and kicking the powerful Dozong. However, it would be too costly to not eliminate the strong and return to the strong. Xiao Ning's face showed a bitter smile, and the 10,000 gold coins borrowed from her sister were spent in a week. To continue improving our strength, we must find ways to make money. Don't think about Xiao Yu's place anymore. Although she has become a disciple of the Canaan Academy, she has relatively abundant resources. But tens of thousands of gold coins are already Xiao Yu's limit. It's really hard to defeat a hero with just one penny. Xiao Ning sighed and then pushed open the door and walked out. Staying in the room is definitely not enough to get money. He can only go out and look for opportunities. Hurry up, there's a good show at the martial arts training ground. I heard that cousin Xiao Yu had a conflict with Xiao Yan. Are you planning to teach Xiao Yan a lesson? Isn't cousin Xiao Yu already a 3-star fighter? Xiao Yan only has the aura of an 8-dan fighter, isn't this a bit of bullying? She should be venting her anger on Xiao Ning, but during the coming-of-age ceremony, Xiao Ning was beaten up and vomited blood. Xiao Ning walked out of the Xiao family backyard and saw several hurried Xiao family children running towards the direction of the martial arts training ground. Sister, have you gone to trouble Xiao Yan? Upon hearing this news, Xiao Ning's face immediately changed. Although Xiao Yan only has the aura of an 8-dan fighter, he stands behind Yao Lao and has many trumps. The true strength he unleashes is definitely not comparable to that of a 3-star fighter. Xiao Yuruo really made Xiao Yan anxious, and it was only she who suffered losses. Thinking of this, a hint of concern flashed in Xiao Ning's eyes and he quickly ran towards the training ground. At the Xiao family martial arts training ground, the two figures have already begun to clash. Xiao Yu, don't force me. Looking at Xiao Yu who didn't agree and started directly, Xiao Yan's face looked a bit gloomy. At the coming-of-age ceremony, you are so ruthless. I am Xiao Ning's sister, so I cannot let him be beaten for nothing. Xiao Yumei glared angrily at Xiao Yan and said with hatred. Do you want to teach me a lesson? It also depends on whether you have this ability. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan let out a sneer. Humph, no matter how talented you are, you're only in the 8th stage of fighting. If I don't teach you a lesson today, you're really going to be arrogant. Looking at Xiao Yan, who was constantly dodging, Xiao Yu sneered and his slender legs danced. Amidst the fierce kicking and swinging, a gust of theatrical wind blew up the withered leaves on the ground. You brought this on yourself. Looking at the aggressive Xiao Yu, Xiao Yan also became very angry. The 8 extremes collapse. This time, unexpectedly, Xiao Yan did not retreat. He clenched his right fist and slightly bent his body, like a raging lion ready to attack. In a moment of silence, his body rushed towards Xiao Yu like an arrow that had left the string. Upon seeing this, Xiao Yu neither dodged nor avoided, but also punched forward. 2 fists met in mid-air, and there was a slight silence. Xiao Yu's originally angry face suddenly turned pale. Then, amidst the surprised gazes of the crowd, his figure kept retreating. At this moment, a figure appeared and stabilized Xiao Yu, who could hardly stand up. Seeing this scene, the children of the Xiao family gathered around and couldn't help but take a deep breath. Xiao Yu was defeated. Xiao Yan defeated the 3-star Dou master Xiao Yu with his cultivation of the 8th-section Dou Qi. Sister, are you okay? Xiao Ning had a worried expression on her face, and as she looked at the pallor on Xiao Yu's face, an inexplicable anger surged in her heart. You Xiao Yan, how dare you hurt my sister? I'm fine, don't be impulsive. The strength of this soul slayer is not something you can handle. Xiao Yu shook her head reluctantly, looking at Xiao Ning with a gloomy expression, and quickly grabbed him. Sister, this is not the same as before. This time, I will definitely not lose. Xiao Ning's tone was full of confidence, and then her gaze turned to Xiao Yan across from her. Xiao Yan's cousin is truly a genius of our Xiao family, and the superior combat is truly unparalleled. Xiao Ning's voice changed and he said in a deep voice, to be honest, I was defeated by Xiao Yan's cousin that day. I have always been unwilling. Why don't we have another sparring? Xiao Yan's eyes narrowed slightly and he said, Cousin Xiao Ning, why bring shame to himself? Self-inflicted humiliation. It seems that cousin Xiao Yan is very confident in his own strength. Xiao Ning chuckled lightly and said, why don't we add some color to it? What kind of colorful hair? Xiao Yan frowned slightly. For some reason, today's Xiao Ning gave him a very strange feeling. Too confident. If I lose, let cousin Xiao Yan handle it, but if you lose, compensate my sister with 100,000 gold coins as medical expenses. How about it? While speaking, Xiao Ning glanced at Xiao Suner who was watching not far away. Perhaps if you want to make money, you can only start from this little rich woman. 100,000 gold coins. Xiao Yan's face darkened slightly and he said, how could I have so many gold coins? Brother Xiao Yan, I have it here. Before Xiao Yan finished speaking, Xiao Suner's voice immediately sounded. Sun believes that brother Xiao Yan will not lose. Xiao Yaner smiled obediently at Xiao Yan. Looking at the gentle smile of the beauty, Xiao Yan stopped saying anything and nodded slightly. Upon seeing this scene, Xiao Ning's mouth curved slightly upwards. As expected. Xiao Yaner, this licking dog, will prepare this 100,000 gold coins for Xiao Yan. Thinking of how his predecessor had licked Xiao Suner for so many years, the other party always maintained an aloof and indifferent attitude. Xiao Ning couldn't help but twitch at the corner of her mouth. Let's take this 100,000 yuan as the cost of Xiao Suner's youth loss that her predecessor licked for so many years. Then, he walked straight towards the martial arts training ground. Xiao Ning, be careful. Xiao Yan didn't talk nonsense. He didn't have much weight in his heart for the defeated general under Xiao Ning. Perhaps with the idea of quickly resolving the battle, Xiao Yan rushed straight towards Xiao Ning and launched a fierce attack with his right fist clenched. Xiao Ning smiled slightly and clenched his right fist tightly. With a movement of his mind, a terrifying force suddenly filled his right arm. The person to be careful of is you. With a low shout, a cold smile flashed in Xiao Ning's eyes, and the 2 punch marks quickly collided. At the next moment, Xiao Yan's face suddenly changed, and a hint of paleness appeared, with blood oozing from the corners of his mouth. Like a fallen leaf in a fierce wind, Xiao Yan's figure was smashed out of the martial arts training ground in countless horrified gazes. How could it be possible? How could this kid have such powerful power? In Xiao Yan's mind, Yao Lao's slightly frightened voice suddenly rang out. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Xiao Ning is the first genius of the Xiao family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Xiao Ning is the first genius of the Xiao family. At this moment, Yao Chen's heart was filled with shock. The scene of Xiao Yan's defeat just now naturally caught his eye. This kid, how could there be such a terrifying increase in strength? Over the past year, under his guidance, Xiao Yan's strength has already undergone earth-shattering changes. From the previous third stage of Doji Qi, it has broken through to the 8th stage of Doji Qi. In addition, Xiao Yan also practiced mystical combat techniques such as the 8 extremes collapse and the blowing fire palm. Yao Chen identified himself among the younger generation of the Xiao family. As long as Xiao Yan puts in all his strength, no one except Xiao Suner will be his opponent. But just now, the scene where Xiao Ning defeated Xiao Yan with just one punch made Yao Lao unbelievable in his heart. At this moment, the children of the Xiao family who were gathered around also widened their eyes and showed a look of shock on their faces. Xiao Yan. Surprisingly lost. Xiao Ning defeated Xiao Yan with just one punch. At the last coming-of-age ceremony, Xiao Ning couldn't beat Xiao Yan. How long has it been since then? Xiao Ning's strength has become so terrifying. The children of the Xiao family around looked at each other with a look of surprise in their eyes. I lost. Xiao Yan struggled to get up from the ground, with a wisp of blood oozing from the corner of his mouth and his right arm trembling uncontrollably. His heart was filled with shock. Just now, Xiao Ning's punch almost shattered his entire body. If it weren't for the 8 extremes collapse during cultivation, the physical strength would have greatly increased. That punch just now, I'm afraid I'm already useless. How could he suddenly become so strong? Looking at Xiao Ning across from him with a calm expression and no signs of abnormality, Xiao Yan couldn't help but feel a bit frustrated. He actually lost to his former defeated subordinates. And you also suffered such a miserable defeat. Brother Xiao Yan, are you okay? Xiao Yan'er ran over to Xiao Yan's side, nervously supporting him with worried eyes. Looking at the blood at the corner of Xiao Yan's mouth, Xiao Suner felt even more heartbroken. Her beautiful eyes glanced at Xiao Ning, and a hint of coldness appeared in her heart. She will never allow anyone to harm brother Xiao Yan. I'm fine, Suner. Feeling the coldness emanating from Xiao Suner's body, Xiao Yan patted her fragrant shoulder and comforted her. Even if he lost this time, Xiao Yan didn't want Xiao Suner to come and fight for him. This is between him and Xiao Ning, what is relying on women? Cousin Xiao Ning, I lost. Xiao Yan forced a smile out of his pale face and said calmly. Xiao Yan's cousin, willing to accept defeat, is a man. Xiao Ning agreed and felt the cold light in Xiao Suner's eyes, causing him to sneer in his heart. I knew this woman would protect the calf. He only used 50% of his strength just now. If he exerted all his strength, he would have completely torn his face. Xiao Ning still harbors fear toward Xiao Suner, or her background. Now he doesn't have enough strength to compete with it. Of course, he didn't exert all his strength, and it wasn't entirely because he was afraid of Xiao Sun. Although Xiao Yan had some conflicts with his predecessor, as both children of the Xiao family, Xiao Ning did not need to cause Xiao Yan to die for such a small matter. After all, the enmity between his predecessor and Xiao Yan was all due to Xiao Suner. Nowadays, Xiao Ning is not interested in Xiao Suner, and this hatred naturally dissipates. Just now, Xiao Ning took action to teach Xiao Yan a lesson. Apart from helping his sister recover the venue, it was all for the sake of making money. At this moment, under the comfort of Xiao Yan, Xiao Sun'er's face returned to its previous cold and elegant expression, and she took out a purple gold card and handed it to Xiao Yan. Although Xiao Yan felt heartbroken, he still kept his promise and gave the purple gold card to Xiao Ning. Cousin Xiao Ning, 1 month later, let's fight again. After 3 years of tempering, Xiao Yan's tenacity and resilience naturally made it impossible for him to lose heart just because of a defeat. He quickly regained his composure and made an appointment to fight against Xiao Ning. Stinky kid, good performance, short-term success or failure doesn't necessarily mean anything. In Xiao Yan's mind, a voice of approval from the old doctor came through. Xiao Ning may have some luck, but I promise you, I won't be long before you can defeat him again. In his words, Yao Lao's tone was extremely confident. Even in the land of Zhongzhou, where the strong are like clouds, the name of the medicine venerable is like thunder piercing through the ears. Placed on the border of this small northwest continent, he doesn't believe in the disciples he teaches, and would be inferior to a small disciple of the Xiao family. It's easy to say, but we can't miss out on this lottery. Xiao Ning was playing with the purple gold card in his hand, feeling extremely comfortable and happily agreeing to Xiao Yan's appointment. With this huge sum of money, his strength will skyrocket again. Just a little inflamed child, it's impossible for him to be his opponent. After all, he carries the legacy of the wilderness emperor, which cannot be compared to a small old medicine expert. If the other party is willing to give him money, Xiao Ning doesn't mind giving a few tips. Farewell. Faced with the strange gazes around him, Xiao Yan didn't have the heart to stay for a long time and left the martial arts training ground with Xiao Sun'er. Sister, why are you looking at me like this? Having earned 100,000 gold coins, Xiao Ning was in a good mood, but when she turned around, she saw Xiao Yu staring at her with strange eyes. My good brother, honestly explain, what's going on with you? With a hint of scrutiny in her eyes, Xiao Yu said, in just a few days, there has been such a tremendous change in strength. I wonder if you are really my younger brother. Xiao Ning's heart skipped a beat, and this woman's intuition was really terrifying. Sister, I admit that I did have some chance, but I can't reveal it. Xiao Ning's half-true and half-false way. For the inheritance of the wild emperor, this is the foundation of his existence and cannot be disclosed to anyone. Even my sister wants to keep it a secret. Xiao Yu had a suspicious expression on her face, with a hint of anger on her pretty face. Xiao Ning smiled but remained silent, never saying anything to the death. I really hurt you for nothing. Xiao Yu said helplessly, reaching out her jade hand to Xiao Ning and saying, bring it. Xiao Ning was a bit puzzled, and there was a hint of anger in Xiao Yume's eyes. What about the medical expenses? Didn't you say that? Xiao Ning was taken aback for a moment and immediately showed an embarrassed expression. Sister, I have a lot of use for this 100,000 gold coins, and you can't use so much for your medical expenses. Don't worry, I will keep some for you. After speaking, Xiao Ning quickly left the martial arts training ground, leaving Xiao Yuman with anger as he watched his departing figure. He gritted his teeth and said, Xiao Ning, wait for me. The Xiao family said it was not big either, and soon the news of Xiao Ning defeating Xiao Yan with one punch spread. At the coming-of-age ceremony, Xiao Yan stood out and defeated Xiao Ning forcefully, once again becoming the first genius of the Xiao family. But in today's battle, the fame accumulated by Xiao Yan in his coming-of-age ceremony became a stepping stone for Xiao Ning. Although Xiao Yan's strength is good, he is a bit lacking in comparison to Xiao Ning. In my opinion, Xiao Ning is the first genius of our Xiao family. Within the Xiao family, many of their children and high-ranking officials have come to a conclusion. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. 2000 Catties of Divine Power. Crazy Ideas. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 2000 Catties of Divine Power. Crazy Ideas. The next day. Mitel Auction House. Young master, you have ordered too many medicinal herbs and cannot gather them in a short period of time. Why don't you take a break in the VIP room first? Faced with the big client in front of him, the manager of Mitel Auction looked respectful. Okay, you can do it as soon as possible, don't make me wait too long. Xiao Ning nodded, carrying 100,000 gold coins. Naturally, he wanted to purchase some precious medicinal herbs to harden his body, which would have a better effect. And with such medicinal herbs, Xiaojiafeng City can no longer be satisfied with him. Therefore, Xiao Ning went straight to the Mitel auction house. The Mitel auction house is backed by the Mitel family, one of the three great aristocratic families of the empire, with strong capital, and various precious medicinal herbs can be purchased here. Under the arrangement of the steward, Xiao Ning came to the VIP room to drink tea and wait. After staying in the room for a while, the middle-aged butler returned again, but this time he also brought an old man in green with slightly graying hair. My gaze swept over the old man and finally stopped at his chest. There was no Venus painted, but rather something resembling a medicine furnace. On the surface of the medicine furnace, 2 silver ripples shimmered with noble brilliance. Young master, this is Guanai master from our auction house. He is a 3-star master. At the same time, he is also a second-grade alchemist, the middle-aged man respectfully introduced. Listening to the identity behind the old man, Xiao Ning raised her eyebrows and immediately smiled, saying, "It turns out to be the famous Guanai master, whom I have admired for a long time." The old man's face was flushed, and although his green clothes seemed ordinary, there was a faint flow of light on his body. Obviously, this garment should have been blessed with some magic crystal protection. On the ordinary old face, there is an indescribable arrogance, which is a must-have for every alchemist. While Xiao Ning was looking at the other party, Guanai was also scanning the former without any trace. "Young man, are you an alchemist?" After surveying, Master Guanai finally spoke up and asked. Xiao Ning's one-time purchase of a large amount of precious medicinal herbs, apart from alchemists, is the only behavior left by some large pharmaceutical suppliers. But the pharmaceutical suppliers in Utan City have dealt with Master Guanai, and Xiao Ning, a young man, is clearly not included. No, it's not. Xiao Ning had long anticipated that his large-scale purchase of precious medicinal herbs would attract the attention of the senior management of Mitel Auction. He doesn't care about this. Isn't it that alchemists can't buy medicinal herbs anymore? Why did you buy so many medicinal herbs? Seeing that Xiao Ning was not an alchemist, Master Guanai suddenly lost interest, but still asked a question with some confusion. What's going on? Buying things at your Mitel auction house, can't we still accept your investigation? Xiao Ning said with some displeasure. That's not true. Since it's inconvenient for you to disclose, I won't ask too much. Master Guanai smiled awkwardly and immediately said to the steward beside him, "Hurry up and gather all the medicinal herbs for this young master." After speaking, he left the VIP room directly. An hour later, Xiao Ning had already returned to his room with many medicinal herbs purchased from the Mitel auction house. And there were only less than 20,000 gold coins left on the purple gold card, so Xiao Ning prepared to send the remaining gold coins to Xiao Yu. During this period of time, Xiao Yu took care of him, and Xiao Ning saw it in her eyes. Naturally, she didn't want this dear sister to feel cold. Consume all these medicinal herbs and my strength will skyrocket again. Next, Xiao Ning processed these medicinal herbs as usual, grinding them into powder and using them for medicinal baths. Skillfully fetch a bucket of boiling water, put some medicinal powder into it, and Xiao Ning stripped off her clothes and jumped in with a leap. Is it a bit expensive? The effect is indeed good. This time, Xiao Ning used mostly precious medicinal herbs, and he got what he paid for. The medicinal bath effect was naturally much stronger than the previous batch of defective products. Xiao Ning couldn't extinguish her meridians, and her body suddenly burst into brilliant runes, crazily devouring the rich medicinal power around her. A few hours later, the medicine in the barrel was completely absorbed by Xiao Ning. It is truly a precious medicinal herb, and its effectiveness is remarkable. Xiao Ning carefully tested it, and this time the medicinal bath increased the strength by about 300 pounds, which is similar to the effect of the first medicinal bath. With the continuous improvement of Xiao Ning's physical strength, ordinary medicinal herbs have gradually become ineffective against him. The more times one takes a medicinal bath, the weaker the power to improve each time. Unless Xiao Ning can find more precious medicinal herbs. Xiao Ning didn't think so much about this. In this world, the strong are respected. As long as one's own strength improves, are you afraid of not having cultivation resources? No, then go grab it. As long as my strength is strong enough, all the cultivation resources in this world will be mine. Suddenly, Xiao Ning's face showed a strange expression. Without much thought, she sat down in a cross-legged position and made strange fingerprints with her hands. Bang! After a moment, there was a muffled sound inside Xiao Ning's body, and his breath also surged. 9 Dan Do Qi has risen. Xiao Ning opened her eyes, and a glimmer of light flashed through them. During this period, he has been immersed in practicing the Immortal Classic all day long and has not taken his fighting spirit seriously. Unexpectedly, the bottleneck of being stuck in the 8th section of Doji Qi for a year was inadvertently broken through by oneself. Unexpectedly, practicing the Immortal Classic can not only enhance one's cultivation, but also enhance one's cultivation level. Xiao Ning felt a sense of joy in her heart. Originally, she was practicing the Immortal Sutra, but she was afraid that her fighting spirit cultivation might fall behind. Now it seems that I am overthinking. Without any worries, in the following period of time, Xiao Ning was completely immersed in practicing the Immortal Classic. In a blink of time, half a month passed. 2,000 pounds of divine power. On that day, Xiao Ning jumped out of the barrel, feeling the surging power inside his body, and his face showed an excited expression. After half a month of hard work, Xiao Ning's physical strength increased by another 1,000 pounds, reaching the current 2,000 pounds of divine power. Xiao Ning squatted down and extended her fingers to press hard on the floor, effortlessly sinking into it like poking tofu. If this power of fear falls on a person's body, it is afraid that the one who touches it will be injured, and the one who knocks it will die. I'm afraid even in the realm of a master of martial arts, I can beat him to death with just one punch. Although he has not yet fought against the realm of the great Dou master, Xiao Ning is full of confidence. In addition, Xiao Ning's fighting spirit cultivation has also greatly improved. Now he has reached the cultivation level of the 9th stage of Doji Qi. Next, it's time to consider the cyclone of condensed Dou. Thinking back on some of the cultivation experiences left by the wild emperor in the immortal scripture, Xiao Ning's eyes showed a hint of contemplation. The Immortal Sutra that he inherited comes from the Emperor of the Wild, and there are also many private goods of the Emperor of the Wild annotated on it. Among them, it includes the detailed process and understanding of opening up the top 10 caves. And upon seeing this, Xiao Ning's heart was filled with an extremely crazy idea. Can one also gather 10 doji cyclones like the Emperor of the Wild? End of this chapter. Chapter 6. 3000 Jin Divine Power. Defeat Xiao Yan again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 3000 Jin Divine Power. Defeat Xiao Yan again. The symbol of the breakthrough from Doji Qi to Doja's realm is the formation of a doji cyclone within the body. This is almost a common knowledge among cultivators of Duqi on the entire continent. And Xiao Ning's current idea is to break the common sense recognized in everyone's hearts. If his ideas were known to others, he would definitely think that Xiao Ning is a madman. Consolidate 10 doji cyclones. This is an unprecedented precedent in the Duqi continent. Based on the experience and insights of Emperor Huangtian in opening up the top 10 caves, this method may be feasible. Xiao Ning's eyes flashed with a gleam of determination, and his thoughts became even more firm in his heart. However, the urgent task is to elevate one's cultivation to the peak of the 9th level of Dou Qi, and lay an extremely solid foundation first. Even with the realization of the Emperor of Wilderness, it is still two different power systems. To gather 10 fighting cyclones, Xiao Ning must be careful and cautious. After all, once there is a slight difference, the consequences will be extremely serious. Of course, with Xiao Ning's current physical strength, even if he fails, the worst outcome will be the complete dispersion of Duqi cultivation, or the inability to cultivate Duqi in the future. In the future, I will specialize in the Immortal Sutra to prove the Tao. The Immortal Sutra is an unparalleled cultivation skill. As long as Xiao Ning persists in cultivation, he can also embark on a brilliant path. Without any worries, Xiao Ning directly confirmed his plan in his heart. Continue practicing. The medicinal herbs purchased at a huge cost last time have certainly not been used up. For Xiao Ning, as long as there are still cultivation resources, he can stay in the room for cultivation. And time passed quickly through Xiao Ning's daily hard work. Quickly, another month has passed. Xiaojia's back mountain. Finally, we have once again broken through to the realm of Dou Ren. Sensing the abundant energy in his body that had been separated for 4 years, Xiao Yan's mouth lit up with a slight smile. After a moment, the smile gradually expanded, and finally he couldn't help but burst out laughing. Well, good luck. We successfully condensed the cyclone on our first attempt. On the side, Yao Lao nodded and said in a faint tone. It's been a month and a half now, and I should also go down the mountain. Since being defeated by Xiao Ning last time, Xiao Yan has been ruthless and has been staying in seclusion on the back mountain, never going down the mountain. Now that he has broken through the realm of a fighter, feeling the surging fighting spirit in his body, Xiao Yan is full of confidence in his own strength. This time, he firmly believed that he could defeat Xiao Ning. If you want to go, then go. Yao Lao didn't speak up to stop him, and he also understood that Xiao Yan had left a knot in his heart after being defeated by Xiao Ning with a punch last time. If he doesn't win back, Xiao Yan may not be able to concentrate on cultivation in the future. Meanwhile, in the backyard of the Xiao family, Xiao Ning leaped out of the barrel, emitting a terrifying aura. 3,000 pounds of divine power. After spending a month, Xiao Ning successfully increased her strength by 1,000 pounds again. And the medicinal herbs he purchased last time were also depleted. It's been over a month now, why hasn't Xiao Yan moved yet? With an empty pocket and no money to buy medicinal herbs, Xiao Ning unconsciously remembered the agreement with Xiao Yan. Can cousin Xiao Ning be here? Xiao Yan is here to visit. At this moment, a voice rang out from outside. You're really talking about Chao Chao, he's here. Xiao Ning pushed open the door and looked at Xiao Yan who was visiting, feeling the scent emanating from him. She couldn't help but ask. Cousin Xiao Yan, has this broken through to the realm of Doja? He naturally guessed the other party's intention, it was nothing more than losing to himself last time, and he felt unwilling in his heart. Now that we have broken through the fighters and our strength has skyrocketed, we just want to regain our ground. However, do mere fighters dare to challenge me? Xiao Ning sneered in his heart, but as the other party rushed to offer him benefits, he naturally wouldn't refuse. By chance, there has been a breakthrough. Upon hearing Xiao Ning's question, Xiao Yan felt a little proud in his heart, but on his face, he remained calm and composed. Last time I was defeated by my cousin. We had made a promise for January, but now it has been a month and a half. My visit this time is to fulfill the agreement, and I kindly ask my cousin not to hesitate to give me advice. After some pleasantries, Xiao Yan directly stated the purpose of this trip. Can you give me some guidance? It's not impossible, but is cousin Xiao Yan ready for the lottery? Xiao Ning showed an inexplicable smile and said, if I lose, let my cousin handle it. If you lose, take out 100,000 gold coins. How about that? Xiao Yan is very confident in his own strength, and Xiao Ning is naturally more confident. With the 3,000 pounds of divine power he currently possesses, even if a master of martial arts comes here, he can punch the opponent to death. Xiao Yan is just a fighter, and even with the guidance of the medicine elder behind his back, Xiao Ning is confident that he can ruthlessly suppress him. No matter how many tricks you have, I'll break them with one punch. Since that's the case, cousin Xiao Ning, please come up with a move. During this period, Xiao Yan had already contacted the alchemist and was even able to refine a quality pill. In addition, with the help of a medicinal expert in refining pills, he is not lacking in money at all now. Therefore, without any hesitation, he agreed to Xiao Ning's request for the lottery. Of course, the biggest reason is that Xiao Yan is full of confidence in his current strength. Anyway, it's a winning game, no matter how high Xiao Ning offers, it doesn't matter to Xiao Yan. It seems that cousin Xiao Yan is very confident in his own strength. Then I won't be polite. Looking at Xiao Yan with a calm expression, Xiao Ning slightly raised the corner of her mouth and immediately clenched her right hand. Terrifying force surged out and she punched the former. Be careful, cousin Xiao Yan. This time, Xiao Ning did not make a heavy move and only used half of his strength. Xiao Yan gave money twice, and with such a money-giving boy, Xiao Ning naturally wouldn't embarrass him. He concealed his strength in order to give Xiao Yan hope of defeating him. With Xiao Yan's personality, if he were to suffer consecutive defeats, he would definitely try his best to surpass himself and constantly challenge himself. In that case, wouldn't it be possible to keep giving oneself benefits? Of course, even without this connection, Xiao Ning would not have killed Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan, the guardian of the calf, and also the children of the Xiao family. In Xiao Ning's heart, there is no killing intent towards Xiao Yan. His strength has also become stronger. Feeling the terrifying power contained in Xiao Ning's fist, Xiao Yan's face became solemn and his fighting energy quickly circulated within his body. With a fierce surge of pale yellow fighting spirit and an unstoppable and fierce momentum, Xiao Yan chose to collide head-on with Xiao Ning. The 8 extremes collapse. With his mouth tightly pursed, Xiao Yan's face was solemn. After completing almost perfect power accumulation with his right fist in mid-air, he finally clashed with Xiao Ning's heavy fist in front of everyone. At the moment when his fists touched, the immense power contained within Xiao Ning's body surged rapidly, causing Xiao Yan's face to change suddenly. Bang! Fists and feet met, and a muffled sound spread out from the junction like thunder. In the next moment, Xiao Yan's body was shot backwards and then heavily hit the wall behind him. I lost again. Looking at Xiao Ning, who was still standing in place with his body motionless. Xiao Yan couldn't help but feel a sweetness in his throat, and a mouthful of blood spurted out uncontrollably, scattered all over the ground. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Condensing 10 Dou Cyclones. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Condensing 10 Dou Cyclones. How could it be like this? Xiao Yan collapsed to the ground, not even caring about his injuries, and his eyes became somewhat dim. Breaking through the realm of a fighter, he came with confidence but ended in a disastrous defeat. The gap in my heart is not significant. Since the return of his cultivation talent, he has always been smooth sailing, showing off in various ways and making a fool of others. At his coming-of-age ceremony, he rose to fame overnight and was hailed as the first genius of the Xiao family. But I didn't expect to be defeated twice by Xiao Ning in just over a month. Cousin Xiao Yan, please accept. Looking at Xiao Yan, who was feeling a bit lost and disoriented, Xiao Ning suddenly felt like she had taken too much action. This kid won't just collapse his heart, will he? This is not feasible. Xiao Ning still hopes that the other party will continue to send him wealth. Xiao Yan's cousin, a momentary failure doesn't necessarily mean anything. Xiao Ning walked towards Xiao Yan and then extended her right hand to him, with a gentle smile on her face. Only those who grow in setbacks and overcome adversity can achieve the path of strength. Grow in setbacks, counterattack in adversity. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan's heart trembled and his mood gradually stabilized. Xiao Yanzi, Xiao Ning is right. Did this little setback defeat you? How can you become a strong person in the future? Have you forgotten the humiliation of withdrawing from your marriage that day? Have you forgotten your three-year promise with Nalan Yanran? If you're so fragile, why don't you just bow down and give up to Nalan Yanran? Yao Lao's voice also echoed in Xiao Yan's mind, with a hint of disappointment in his tone, clearly dissatisfied with the latter's performance just now. Teacher, I was wrong. Upon hearing Yao Lao's words, Xiao Yan thought of his oath that day and felt extremely ashamed. His expression gradually became firm and he said, I, Xiao Yan, will never be defeated. After making a promise to Yao Lao, Xiao Yan looked up at Xiao Ning's encouraging gaze, feeling inexplicably touched in his heart. At the coming-of-age ceremony, I hit him severely. Now, I am defeated. Cousin Xiao Ning not only did not ridicule him, but also extended his hand to encourage him. This made Xiao Yan feel a sense of shame in his heart. Cousin Xiao Ning, thank you. Xiao Yan's tone was sincere, but his face was filled with determination. However, I won't admit defeat. If I lose this time, I will work harder to cultivate and come back to you for advice in the future. It's easy to say, cousin. I'm always welcome. What Xiao Ning wanted was Xiao Yan's words, which he readily agreed to. However, cousin Xiao Yan must prepare the lottery before coming again, otherwise I won't be willing to take action. Upon hearing this, Xiao Yan couldn't help but think of 2 defeats, losing a whopping 200,000 gold coins to Xiao Ning, and his mouth twitched slightly. Farewell. After taking out a purple gold card from the ring and handing it to Xiao Ning, Xiao Yan turned around and left gracefully. Cousin Xiao Yan, come often. Xiao Ning shook the purple gold card in her hand and easily earned 100,000 yuan, it was simply a pleasure. Xiao Ning, this kid is getting more and more difficult to see through. After leaving the yard, Xiao Yan could hear the sound of the old medicine doctor. Xiao Ning's character is indeed different from before, Xiao Yan also sighed. This kid is pretty good, he's very fond of me. Yao Lao's tone showed a slight approval for Xiao Ning. In the backyard of the Xiao family, a quiet courtyard. Brother Xiao Yan has lost again. Xiao Suner stood by the window, listening to Ling Ying reporting on Xiao Yan's challenge to Xiao Ning just now. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly. It seems that cousin Xiao Ning, like brother Xiao Yan, has gained some kind of opportunity. Thinking of Xiao Ning's recent abnormal behavior, Xiao Suner had a guess in her heart. Is brother Xiao Yan okay? Ling Ying replied, Xiao Ning seems to have not done his best. Young Master Xiao Yan only suffered a slight injury, but he looks a bit decadent. Upon hearing this, a hint of concern flashed in Xiao Suner's eyes. I hope brother Xiao Yan doesn't fall into despair from now on. We're going to start restocking again. Holding the just won 100,000 gold coins, Xiao Ning left the Xiao family and headed straight to the Meitel auction house. About half an hour later, Xiao Ning returned to the Xiao family. The 100,000 gold coins I received have not yet been covered in heat, and I have become poor again. Taking out the medicinal herbs purchased this time, Xiao Ning's heart was filled with enthusiasm. This batch of medicinal herbs can also greatly enhance one's own strength. Spending 100,000 gold coins in one breath, Xiao Ning felt no pain in her heart. In his opinion, isn't money just for spending? Moreover, this money was not earned by oneself. What is there to be heartbroken about? Only by monetizing one's own strength is the way. As the saying goes, as long as you have strong strength. The cultivation resources in this world are not left to be taken or taken by oneself. Subsequently, Xiao Ning was extremely skilled in grinding these medicinal herbs into powder for convenient medicinal bathing. A few hours later, Xiao Ning slowly opened her eyes and frowned slightly as she looked at the absorbed medicine. Sure enough, as my physical strength continues to increase, this level of medicinal bathing can no longer satisfy me. What he purchased this time is still the same precious medicinal herb as last time. But the effect of medicinal baths is no longer as good as before. A medicinal bath can only increase strength by tens of pounds. We can only make do with it as much as possible. Xiao Ning sighed helplessly, and with his current strength, he could only obtain this level of medicinal herbs. What comforted Xiao Ning was that while taking a medicinal bath, the effect of practicing the Immortal Classic on the improvement of Duqi cultivation did not diminish. Feeling the growth of cultivation in his body, Xiao Ning estimated that in no time, he would be able to break through to the late stage of the 9th stage of Doji Qi. After a month of reflection and contemplation, Xiao Ning's idea of gathering 10 Doji Cyclones in his mind has gradually improved. In a blink of time, as Xiao Ning persisted in practicing the Immortal Classic every day, another 10 or so days passed. It's time to break through the realm of fighters. In the room, Xiao Ning, as usual, was completely immersed in the medicinal liquid. The Immortal Classic runs wildly in the body, greedily absorbing the medicinal power from the liquid. The pure medicinal power is constantly being refined, and the scale of the Dou Qi in Xiao Ning's body is expanding at a visible speed to the naked eye. Quickly, the Dou Qi in Xiao Ning's body had expanded to a critical point that could no longer be increased. The expansion of Doji Qi directly caused Xiao Ning's meridians to twitch gently, causing intense pain that made Xiao Ning's eyebrows furrow. The cyclone of condensed dough is right now. Xiao Ning's mind constantly flashed with insights from the opening of the 10 great caves left by the Heavenly Emperor in the Immortal Classic. Radiant runes gradually appeared on his body, and precious light flowed around. The majestic blood emanated from Xiao Ning's body, filled with rich vitality. Bang! Suddenly, a soft muffled sound quietly rang out inside the body. However, this is not over. Bang! 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 Immediately after, there were 9 muffled sounds, and Xiao Ning's body gradually quieted down. At this moment, Xiao Ning felt like his life had been sublimated, completing a earth-shattering transformation. Not only has the strength improved by leaps and bounds, but the strength of the soul and body has also greatly increased compared to before. The powerful aura of life even makes the surrounding space seem to resonate with it. Sensing the surging energy in his body, Xiao Ning's mouth showed a burst of excited laughter. Success! I really gathered 10 Doji Cyclones. Xiao Ning murmured, closing her eyes and immersing herself in this realm, feeling incredibly wonderful. This is an incredibly powerful feeling, as if about to feather and soar, with a comfortable and explosive body, as if the whole person is about to fly. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. One Punch Kills Lu Shi. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. One Punch Kills Lu Shi. In the room, Xiao Ning closed her eyes slightly and her mind gradually sank into her body. Insights are an auxiliary skill that can only be mastered at the level of a fighter. The higher the strength, the more thorough the exploration of the situation inside the body. As my mind sank into my lower abdomen, I saw 10 palm-sized milky white cyclones slowly spinning. Outside the cyclone, there was a layer of milky white energy gas resembling a nebula. With his mind fixed on 10 small cyclones, Xiao Ning's face showed an excited expression. Although the volume of cyclones nowadays is very small, the energy contained in them is definitely more than 10 times stronger than the previous Jiudan Dou Qi. The energy absorbed by the fighter before is almost fundamentally different from that of the Jiudan Dou. The energy absorbed by the fighter after is called the true Dou Qi. Although there is only a one-word difference between the two, the difference between them is like a world of difference, with no comparability. And now, Xiao Ning has condensed 10 Doji Cyclones. Equivalent to a stack of 10 one-star fighters. The strength of internal fighting spirit is comparable to that of a 3 or 4-star fighter. And with the continuous improvement of Xiao Ning's strength in the future, this will be an extremely terrifying superposition. At the same level, Xiao Ning's fighting energy storage in his body is 10 times that of others. The tenfold difference in fighting spirit cannot be filled by even the heavenly level cultivation techniques practiced by others. That is to say, Xiao Ning, who condensed 10 doji cyclones, can be said to have achieved invincibility in the same realm. Even if it's a high-level killing, it's still easy. Of course, this does not include Xiao Ning's physical strength. Compared to the level of a fighter, his current strength of over 3,000 pounds is a bit of a bully. The mind controlled the 10 major cyclones in his body, and Xiao Ning's heart moved slightly. A majestic milky white fighting spirit quickly separated from the 10 cyclones, and then rushed away as pointed out by the mind. In the next moment, Xiao Ning's palm burst into a milky white light, dazzling and dazzling. Twisting his neck, the clicking sound of bones colliding made Xiao Ning grin. The doji cyclone has successfully condensed, and once this level is passed, the next cultivation will be much simpler. Condense the 10 great Dou cyclones, Xiao Ning will no longer have any concerns in Dou Qi cultivation in the future. The path of physical cultivation has an immortal scripture. No matter which road he takes, it is a grand road for Xiao Ning. Of course, in Xiao Ning's opinion, the dual cultivation of Dharma and body is the strongest way. In the following time, Xiao Ning continued to stay in the room, stabilizing her own realm. Having reached the realm of a fighter, one has obtained the qualification to practice Dukigong. But after practicing the immortal classic and refining his physical body, while also absorbing the energy of heaven and earth to transform into fighting spirit, Xiao Ning no longer needed to cultivate other martial arts. As for the fighting skills, Xiao Ning's casual punch was a tremendous force of 3,000 pounds. Unless he has Jinjia fighting skills, Xiao Ning really doesn't look up to it. Cousin Xiao Ning, it's not good anymore. Cousin Xiao Yu and the others have started a fight with the members of the Jiaoya family. On that day, Xiao Ning was practicing in the room when a young member of the Xiao family shouted out in an anxious tone. Xiao Ning frowned and pushed open the door, saying in a deep voice, "Where did my sister get into a fight with someone?" Jiafang City, cousin Xiao Yan has already taken someone over. At this moment, in the city of Jiafang, 2 waves of people are glaring and confronting each other. In the empty space between them, 2 figures were fighting with extraordinary momentum. One of them is Xiao Yan, while the other is Galio, the eldest son of the Galio family. When Xiao Ning arrived, Xiao Yan and Galio were fighting fiercely. "Sister, what's going on?" Watching Xiao Yan and Galio fighting in the open space at this moment, and having read the original work, he suddenly felt a sense of clarity in his heart. "You came just in time. Did you see that guy across from you? He's the alchemist invited by the Jiaoya family." When Xiao Yu saw Xiao Ning, her pretty face immediately lit up with joy. She pointed at the alchemist Lu Shi across from her and gave orders to Xiao Ning. "Just now, this guy and Galio dared to openly flirt with me and Sunner, and even wanted to catch us back. Now Xiao Yan is taking action to teach Galio a lesson. Go beat up that damn alchemist and vent your anger for your sister." Upon hearing this, Xiao Ning nodded and a sneer appeared on the corner of her mouth. "You're so bold, you dare to tease my sister Xiao Ning." As soon as the words fell, Xiao Ning immediately crossed over the crowd and walked towards Lu Shi and others on the opposite side. "Who is this kid?" Seeing Xiao Ning walking straight over, Lu Shi, surrounded by the guards of the Jia Lai family, couldn't help but ask. "Brother Lu Shi, this kid's name is Xiao Ning, and he is the younger brother of the beautiful Xiao Yu from the Xiao family across from him. I heard that his strength has recently increased, and he vaguely has the title of the first genius of the Xiao family." A person from the Jia Lai family introduced him. "A mere fighter, who dares to call himself a genius, is truly a frog at the bottom of a well." Lu Shi sneered disdainfully. "Kid, if you're sensible, please advise your sister well. As long as she follows me, I promise you'll have endless pills in the future. Watching Xiao Ning walk towards him with a cold expression, Lu Shi is not afraid at all. He possesses the strength of a 6-star fighter, but is he still afraid of the garbage of a 1-star fighter? However, Xiao Ning remained silent and responded with a huge fist towards Lu Shi. Seeking death. Staring at Xiao Ning rushing towards him with his fists, Lu Shi let out a cold laugh, and a faint yellow fighting spirit quickly condensed in his palm. Standing still in place, Lu Shi's palms suddenly curled into a claw-like shape. At his fingertips, yellow fighting energy faintly gathered into 10 sharp spikes, and with a fierce smile, his paws danced with a gust of wind-breaking sound, fiercely attacking Xiao Ning. Be careful, younger brother. This is the Xuanjia fighting technique. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yu shouted with some concern. At this moment, she felt a hint of regret in her heart. Although Xiao Ning had already shown strong strength last time, the alchemist on the other side clearly had a good background, and Xiao Ning was very likely to suffer a loss against him. Xiao Ning's face remained calm as water, and although there was no fighting spirit surging on his fists, he carried a fierce and unstoppable momentum and chose to collide head-on with Lu Shi. Watching Xiao Ning, who had not used his fighting spirit and had chosen to confront Lu Shi head-on, the crowd around couldn't help but feel a little uproar. The two levels are significantly different. If Xiao Ning chooses to give it his all, he can still drag it on for a while. However, at this moment, he has not even used his fighting spirit and chooses to confront them head-on, undoubtedly only losing on the spot. Just as everyone was regretting Xiao Ning, in front of everyone, Xiao Ning's fists finally clashed with Lu Shi. However, a scene that left everyone stunned appeared. At the moment of their handover, a bone fracture sound followed by a piercing sound. Ah! In the next moment, accompanied by a mournful scream, Lu Shi's body instantly flew out and slammed heavily onto the stone wall behind him. You! After landing, Lu Shi suddenly spewed out a mouthful of rich blood, his eyes glaring at Xiao Ning with resentment. Before he could finish speaking, he immediately swallowed his breath and refused to close his eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Battle Master. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Battle Master. Looking at Lu Shi, who had completely lost his breath, all the onlookers in the room were immediately confused. One punch. Killed a 6-star fighter with just one punch. And the other party is also a first-class alchemist. Among the onlookers, there were many people with outstanding eyesight. When they saw Lu Shi's almost twisted and deformed arms, they couldn't help but take a cold breath, and their faces were immediately shocked. Has the force in this circle already shattered Lu Shi's arm, even shattering his internal organs? The slightly noisy street suddenly fell silent at this moment, with eyes fixed on the indifferent young man in shock. After a while, cheers rang out loudly. With her rosy little mouth slightly open, Xiao Yu looked at Lu Shi on the ground with some disbelief and said in shock, "My younger brother, he actually won. What a terrifying physical power." Xiao Suner stared closely at Xiao Ning's back with beautiful eyes, without using any fighting spirit. With only physical strength, she punched and killed a 6-star fighter. This kind of power is truly terrifying. No wonder brother Xiao Yan has repeatedly been defeated by him. Thinking of the 200,000 gold coins that Xiao Yan lost to Xiao Ning, Xiao Sun had an intuition. Brother Xiao Yan is afraid that he will never win back this 200,000 gold coins. Faced with the gaze of everyone, Xiao Ning remained expressionless. It's just crushing a fighter, for him today, it's like pinching an ant. This is nothing at all. At this moment, his mind had already sunk into his mind. There, an incredibly majestic figure stood under the starry sky. At the moment when Lu Shi died just now, Xiao Ning could clearly sense a slight flicker of one of the stars, and then absorbed Lu Shi's soul. Obviously, after Lu Shi was killed by Xiao Ning, even his soul was devoured by the inheritance stars in his mind. It seems that in order to open up the next path of inheritance, one life is far from enough. Looking at the inheritance star that had devoured its soul and regained peace, Xiao Ning exuded an astonishing killing intent. Later, he looked at Lu Shi's body and his eyes suddenly lit up. He walked over and took off the Na ring from the other person's hand. The first-grade alchemist's ring should have a lot of wealth. Xiao Ning had a slight expectation in her heart. I gave up. At this moment, the battle between Galio and Xiao Yan suddenly came to an end. Looking at the corpse of Lu Shi on the ground, Galio swallowed his saliva and said with endless panic in his tone, I admit defeat, I won't fight. After speaking, Galio didn't have the mood to deal with the body of Lu Shi on the ground. He glanced at Xiao Ning and wanted to escape from here. Did I say I wanted you to leave alive? At this moment, Xiao Ning's cold voice suddenly sounded, making Galio's body stiffen uncontrollably. Xiao Ning, I have already given up. You can't kill me. Galio glanced at Lu Shi, who had died tragically, and his voice trembled slightly. Have I ever said that if you give up, you can leave alive? Xiao Ning remained expressionless, as if she hadn't heard these words, and suddenly turned around and walked towards Galio. Looking at the indifferent young man in the field, even if some mercenaries were constantly adding blood to their swords, it couldn't help but feel a bit chilly. The indifference displayed by Xiao Ning is difficult to associate with the usual smiling teenagers. Surprisingly flirting with my sister, you already have a way to die. The footsteps paused, and Xiao Ning's gaze was fixed on Galio, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. However, looking at the smile on his face made Galio's heart chill. You can go on the road now. With a gentle smile, Xiao Ning's murderous intent suddenly surged in his pitch-black pupils. Immediately, he clenched his fist in his right hand, carrying a piercing wind-piercing body, and fiercely charged towards Galio. Looking at Xiao Ning, Galio, who was merciless in his actions, his face turned pale, and a look of fear enveloped his face. On the street, as Nagario was about to spill blood, everyone present couldn't help but take a cold breath. Xiao Ning's decisive personality made many people unable to help but feel fear and apprehension towards him. Xiao Yue had a rosy little mouth open and stood stiffly in place. Xiao Ning's sharp and decisive nature of killing at any moment completely overturned his previous image in the former's heart. Xiao Yu could never have imagined that his usually naive younger brother would really be so cunning. Everyone's gaze moved with Xiao Ning's fist. However, at this moment, a loud shout sounded like thunder on the street. Xiao family's kid, it's just a challenge for sparring. How dare you make such a fierce move? Listening to the angry cheers, Xiao Ning's eyes narrowed slightly, and a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. His hand movements not only did not stop, but also with even more fierce force, he smashed it fiercely. Ah! Although Galio resisted desperately, his strength was not even as strong as Lu Shi. He had a big battle with Xiao Yan just now, how could he possibly be Xiao Ning's opponent? With a piercing scream, Galio's body, like Lu Shi before, flew backwards, his bones shattered, and he was still in the air, spraying a large amount of blood. Galileo's body landed right in front of the approaching Galileo, and as he looked at his son on the brink of death, the latter's eyes widened with anger and an incredulous expression on his face. Father! Dear, seek revenge. Galio spoke with difficulty, his eyes filled with resentment. As soon as he spoke, his eyes instantly dimmed, and then he, like Lu Shi's fate, fell into a state of death. Even the soul was swallowed up by Xiao Ning into the inheritance stars. Ah! Dare to kill my son, die for me. Looking at Galio, who had died tragically in front of him, Galebe went completely crazy. With a roar of anger and a sharp gust of wind, he roared out like a flash of blue lightning towards Xiao Ning. Brother, be careful. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yu's pretty face instantly turned pale. Jia Libi is a strong fighter, how could Xiao Ning be his opponent? The other members of the Xiao family also showed anger on their faces. Even the strong master of the grand martial arts had resorted to violence against a younger generation. It was shameless to add an old dog. Teacher, cousin Xiao Ning. A hint of concern flashed in Xiao Yan's eyes, and he communicated in his heart that the medicine was always being used. Don't worry, this kid is not a brainless person, he must have some reliance on doing so. Yao Lao's voice sounded, as if he was very optimistic about Xiao Ning. De Dou Po. At this moment, Xiao Ning looked at Galabai's attack, but his eyes flashed with excitement. He had long wanted to give it a try. With his current strength, he could kill a big fighter with just a few punches. Bang! With a casual punch, Xiao Ning shattered Galabai's attack and then rushed straight towards Galabai. The realm of De Dou Po is now able to unleash his fighting spirit. Xiao Ning must be close in order to harm the opponent. Seeing Xiao Ning casually break through his attack and even kill him, Galabai snorted and then curled his hands into claws, vigorously waving them in front of him. The strong green fighting spirit formed several light blue energy blades. With a flick of his finger, the wind blade flew out of his hand and exploded toward Xiao Ning. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Moving Utan City. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Moving Utan City. Brother, don't. Seeing that Xiao Ning dared to take the initiative to attack Galabai, Xiao Yu was frightened and her pretty face turned pale, shouting anxiously. The other Xiao family members were also dumbfounded. How dare this guy take the initiative to fight against the Big Dipper? In the city of Utan, the realm of De Dou Po is already the strongest tier of combat power. In everyone's eyes, even though Xiao Ning is so talented, he is definitely not a match for the Big Dipper at this moment. This kid is really brave. In Xiao Yan's mind, even Yao Lao couldn't help but sigh. Teacher, can you take action to save cousin Xiao Ning? Thinking of the scene where Xiao Ning instructed him last time, Xiao Yan made a request to Yao Lao. He hasn't personally defeated cousin Xiao Ning yet, how can he die? Don't worry, this kid has an appetite for me, and he will save his life when the time comes. Yao Lao's words immediately calmed Xiao Yan's heart. Is he really not afraid of death? Watching Xiao Ning fearlessly rush towards Galabai, Xiao Yan sincerely sweated for him. At this moment, Xiao Ning's actions were seen by everyone as a suicidal act. At this moment, facing the wind blade condensed from Galabai, Xiao Ning did not hide or avoid it. If you use all your means, I'll break it with one punch. With Xiao Ning's punch, several wind blades instantly annihilated. Seeing this scene, Jia Libi's pupils contracted slightly. The strength displayed by this kid is a bit off. No wonder both Lu Shi and Aoer died tragically in the hands of this kid. Thinking of this, Galabai's eyes became even colder. At such a young age, my heart is so cruel. Today, I will teach the Xiao family a good lesson. Subsequently, amidst the dual palms of Jia Libi, the blue fighting spirit rapidly condensed, forming a circle of wind under his feet. He then carried it in mid-air, like a shell, diving down towards Xiao Ning. With a wave of his palm, a light blue fighting spirit wind blade appeared out of thin air again, shooting fiercely towards Xiao Ning. The strong wind pressure generated by the wind blade blows the debris on the ground clean and spotless. Teach me a lesson. Even you, an old man, deserve it. With a calm face, Xiao Ning looked at the rapidly shooting wind blade. As it was about to enter a distance of 5 meters above his head, his mind twitched and a tremendous force of 3,000 pounds surged out of his body, unleashing an invisible terrifying aura. Feeling an inexplicable sense of oppression from Xiao Ning, Jia Libi's eyes were extremely cold. This kid must die today, otherwise it will become a big disaster in the future. In the next moment, Galabai suddenly stepped on the ground with his foot, and his figure appeared eerily above Xiao Ning's head like a gust of fresh wind. A hint of ferocity flashed across his expressionless face, and his fist clenched fiercely. The surging green fighting spirit on it quickly condensed into a huge blue vortex. This is the Xuanjie fighting technique. The Dou Po even used the Xuanjie fighting technique against the fighters, adding the old dog and adding the face of the family to your list. Feeling the fierce force contained in Galabai's fist, the faces of the Xiao family suddenly became extremely ugly. However, just as Xiao Yan was about to call for the help of the medicine elder, a loud roar filled with anger suddenly exploded on the street again. Damn it, Gale old dog, my Xiao family. When will it be your turn, you bastard, to teach a lesson? As soon as the cheers fell, a figure with a fiery red all over flashed towards Xiao Ning from outside the neighborhood. With a fierce stomp on a roof, the figure appeared lightning fast in front of Xiao Ning, looking up and roaring loudly. In the roar, there was even a faint sound of lions singing. Lion Mountain Crack. With a fierce expression on his face, Xiao Zhan clenched his iron fist and immediately slammed it towards Galabai above his head. Above his fist, a huge red lion head appeared faintly visible. Boom! The transition between green and red, like a thunderous explosion, made most people on the street feel a bit dizzy. In mid-air, the bodies of the two who were bombarding each other trembled slightly, and they quickly retreated. As Xiao Zhan retreated, he also blocked Xiao Ning behind him. Step back a few steps on the ground with hurried steps, leaving a visible footprint on the floor with each step, which shows how strong the two sides are in the fight against each other. Seeing Xiao Zhan take action, Xiao Ning felt a bit disappointed in her heart, but she did not forcefully take action. In the previous confrontation, he had almost understood his current combat power. Faced with the late addition and completion of the Grand Dou Master, even if the opponent uses the Xian level fighting skills, he also has the power of World War I. Even if he could get close, it wouldn't be difficult to take down Galibius. Under the Douling, it no longer poses a threat to me, Xiao Ning thought to herself. As his energy dissipated, Xiao Zhan coldly glanced at Jia Libi not far away and sneered, Jia Libi, you really live up to the dog. You have the face to attack the younger generation. Jia Libi's face was gloomy, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. He pointed to the bodies of Jialio and Liushi on the ground and said coldly, he killed my son, and there is also a first-class alchemist invited by my Jiale family. Shouldn't he pay for his life? Father, it was they who provoked me first, and dared to openly tease Sun Er and Xiao Yu's cousin, even wanting to directly kidnap someone. Seeing his father's arrival, Xiao Yan was completely calm and quickly reported. Jia Lai Lao Go, did you hear that? This is because your Jia Lai family caused trouble first, and you deserve to be killed. Upon hearing this, Xiao Zhan immediately sneered and fiercely cursed at Galabai. You! His face twitched a few times in a hurry, and Galabai looked at the teasing gaze in the room. Knowing that he had lost the best mobile phone skills for Xiao Ning today, he gritted his teeth and said, don't let me seize the opportunity, otherwise I'll give you this sentence instead. With a smile, a fierce light flashed through Xiao Zhan's pupils. Okay, wait. Angry and smirking, Galeb nodded and approached to pick up Galio's body on the ground, then turned around and left. Xiao Ning looked at the ring in Galio's hand and felt a bit regretful. This guy is the eldest young master of the Jiaoya family, and he should have a considerable wealth. Okay, Kid Ning, even Gale's old dog can't do anything to you. After Jia Lai finished leaving, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly eased, and all the disciples of the Xiao clan showed victorious smiles on their faces. Xiao Zhan walked up to Xiao Ning with a bold face and patted his shoulder with force, praising him in a tone of approval. Undoubtedly, even though Xiao Ning has not yet demonstrated all his strength, being able to persist under Galabai for so long is enough to make Xiao Zhan stand out. Clan leader, that old dog is already old and should not be banned, Xiao Ning smiled and said calmly. Haha, that's great. This time, the confrontation between the Xiao family and the two major aristocratic families, Galibius, was clearly won by the Xiao family. And Xiao Ning's performance in this battle gradually spread out. At only 16 years old, Xiao Ning was able to compete in the hands of a powerful master, which made him famous and vaguely earned him the title of the first genius in Utan City. End of this chapter.